Tonight on Joy News Prime, Finance Minister amends 2020 budget to include roads in the Volta region, which will be tackled next year after the minority protested. University of Ghana announces completion of sex for grades probe and promises to implement its recommendations.
Every employee of the University of Ghana will be trained in understanding what constitutes sexual and gender harassment and how to respond to it, either as a perpetrator or as a victim.
Ferry with 3 fully loaded cargo trucks submerged in the Mankango River in the East Gonja district of the Savannah region after failed attempts to rescue it. And Central Region Police Command justified detention of pitch invader at Thursday night's Black Stars match in Cape Coast.
Can you imagine a situation where, after yesterday's incident, as a police commander, I just decided that, oh, I will just let this young man go because some people are suggesting that I let him go free of charge.
We'll touch base with our correspondent to find out whether he's been able to secure bail or he would have to spend another night in detention. I'm Israel Lai, and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlimli here in Accra with digital address GA09925539. Stay tuned in. The University of Ghana says it is developing a new anti-sexual harassment training program for university staff. Vice Chancellor Professor Ebenezer Oduro-Owusu said this at the 2019 congregation ceremony for graduates in the College of Humanities undergraduate program. A BBC-produced documentary detailing accusations of sexual harassment involving 2 lecturers of the University of Ghana compelled authorities there to conduct a probe. The Vice Chancellor says a 5-member committee which investigated the sexual harassment claims has concluded its work. Professor Oduro-Owusu assures that though details of the committee's work are yet to be made public, the recommendations would be implemented.
I'm happy to inform you that the committee submitted its report to me on Tuesday, 12 November 2019. Management will therefore study the report and ensure implementation of the recommendations using the appropriate adjudicatory processes stipulated under the basic law and policies of the university. Going forward, the Center for Gender Studies and Advocacy, CGENSA, has been tasked to lead in developing a training program to educate members of the university community on what constitutes sexual harassment. It's envisaged that in the not-too-distant future, every employee of the University of Ghana will be trained in understanding what constitutes sexual and gender harassment and how to respond to it, either as a perpetrator or as a victim. Once the framework is developed, it's proposed that the training will be available both online and in other formats and will be extended to students.
Ghana's medicine market is said to be facing several complex challenges, with the influx of fake and substandard drugs smuggled into the country posing a major threat to human life. According to a World Bank report, an estimated 30% of medicines in Ghana are fake or substandard, leading to a failure to treat illnesses, negative side effects, antimicrobial resistance, spread of diseases, and unnecessary death. Maxwell Kudeko has more in this report.
In the year 2013, the European Union compiled a league table of countries with the highest burden of fake medicines. Ghana was number 6. Over 100,000 deaths in sub-Saharan Africa is attributed to administration of fake and substandard drugs. In view of the above, Farm Access Foundation has introduced a regulated digital supply platform which aims to clear the barriers of access, affordability, and quality of essential medicines in Ghana. The platform is presented Med for All. The Med for All platform connects trusted Ghanaian manufacturers and importers of medicine to healthcare providers in the value chain. Farm Access Foundation has partnered the Christian Health Association of Ghana to pilot the project. Dr. Maxwell Entry is director of Farm Access Foundation.
The challenge is multiple. One of them is our porous borders. So we have so many unapproved entry points in our borders that it's so difficult to get a regulator to man all of them. And so you might check the quality of the medicines that come through Tema or Takrady port. But what about what comes across the Togo border or through the Burkina Faso border? So the regulators in Ghana are actually among the best in the world. And our challenge is the porosity of our borders. For All is a digital platform that directly connects trusted medicines to healthcare providers. And trusted medicines, we mean medicines that have been approved by Food and Drugs Authority. The suppliers themselves have been licensed by Food and Drugs Authority. And we pick up samples at the healthcare provider level to make sure that the same quality samples that were registered by Food and Drugs Authority are also being supplied.
President of the Christian Health Association of Ghana, Mr. Peter Ebua, said the Med for All platform is timely in an era of fake drugs.
We recognize the fact that a resilient and responsive health system thrives on a robust supply chain system, which is supported by an effective logistic management mechanisms, very important. And such mechanisms should ensure that indeed the right quality product in the right quantities and in the right condition is delivered to the right place at the right time for a reasonable cost. We seek to have full control of the product cycle of medicines, from sourcing, from quality control systems, purchase order negotiations and management, and indeed buyers consolidation, transportation, and last mile distribution.
$375 nurses will start work in Barbados from January next year under an agreement that with that country first mooted in June when President Akufo-Addo visited. The country's Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, who is on a three-day state visit to Ghana, expressed delight at a news conference at the Jubilee House.
It's a symbol of what we're doing today, to me, is enormous. That the Caribbean and West Africa, CARICOM, ECOWAS, the African Union, the Caribbean, the Americas, how we can forge this strong relationship for the 21st century. The black peoples of the world, we cannot depend on anybody but ourselves.
I killed the woman. We are playing Nanado.
Proper place in the world. And therefore the linkages between us take on a special dimension this century, and for the work that has to be done this century to get us away from dependence, to get us away from consistently soliciting for assistance, arms out, begging. It's time for us to stand on our own 2 feet, and we do that better when we cooperate with each other. So I'm really, really happy that Prime Minister Motley has found an opportunity to come and visit with us here in Ghana. She'll be here for today, tomorrow. I'm going to have the privilege of taking her with me to Yendi to go and watch the Damba Festival. The first time it has been celebrated for 17 years as a result of the peace process there. So we're exposing her to as much as possible. Yesterday she was in Asin Manso and in Cape Coast looking at the slave infrastructure there.
Rated us as a few generations. And this afternoon, as I address the Parliament of Ghana, I will share more with you as to the deep relations that bind us together. This morning, these agreements represent a statement of confidence on our part that we can be for each other that country that will make a difference in our development trajectory. In our own case in Barbados, we have had some challenges with respect to the shortage of nurses, and for us to be able to cure that deficit will take, of necessity, a number of years because of the training that is required. When I raised this with you, when you visited Barbados at Elara Court, you immediately, in a press conference such as this, announced to the people of Barbados and to the wider people that Ghana would step up to the plate to assist us in this respect. I'm happy to report that we have had a team of persons here who have been interviewing, and the chairman of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital has led that delegation. And over the course of the last 10 days, that effort has been extremely successful and will be completed by early next week. And we hope that we will be in a position to receive these nurses in early January of 2020. We also reflected on the fact that the cooperation agreement between the Port of Tema and the Port of Bridgetown is absolutely necessary, given the fact that history has proven that the logistics was correct, even if the purposes for which those logistics were being used for centuries was pernicious and inequitable. And I refer, of course, to the fact that the journey from the Gold Coast of Africa to Barbados as the first port of call took place over and over and over for the wrong reasons.
Well, joining us on phone now is Dr. Kwaku Asante-Krobia, the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, to tell us a bit more about this arrangement where Ghanaian nurses will be sent over to work in the Barbados. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, how far have you gone in the process to get the Ghanaian nurses to go work in the Barbados?
Thank you very much, my brother. The whole process started with the arrangement with the Ministry of Health to support this initiative. And we responded positively and cheerfully, not because we are happy that nurses are going, but because of the international cooperation agreement between the two countries, where they have reposed so much, that is, the government of Barbados has put so much confidence in Ghana and the way we train our nurse midwife professionals. And so we decided to work together with the Ministry of Health to get this on the ground. So far, we have been working together to get the interviews of these nurses on the ground. We're supposed to be finishing sometime midday Monday next week, and then the other processes will be put on course for completion of the plan of action. So these nurses will leave sometime January, probably the first week of January 2020.
All right, Dr. Asante-Krobia, how are you going about the selection?
Well, it was the applications were received from these interested nurses when it was put out there, and there was positive response from these nurses, and the government of Barbados was involved in determining which criteria we should follow. And after the responses had been received, we called these nurses and the interview started.
And what criteria are you using?
Well, these nurses must be qualified practitioners and people who have worked for not less than 3 years after qualifying and receiving their license from the Nurses and Midwifery Council as practitioners. And after that, there were determinations of the grades also, the general nurses and also nurses who have some specialized qualifications. And so they were all spelled out.
Will they be working there in the Barbados indefinitely, or they have to return after a while?
They will return after a while. They will return.
After how many years?
The first, they'll have to be there for 2 years to start with. Another 2 years, they will come back.
All right. Now, how are we sure that we're not sending out our best nurses?
Of course, we will have to give them some of our best nurses, because we have already agreed that we'll enter into this international cooperation with them. And there is no country who would desire to get nurses from a sending country, I would not take the best, because they also want the best for their system. And such that these nurses will also go and will couch a bright image for Ghana. It is important that we give them some of those nurses who are well qualified and have the skills to make an impression on the healthcare system in the country.
But while at it, essentially, we'll be depriving ourselves of 375 of the best nurses we have.
Well, at this stage, we're not going to provide the whole of the 300. But it is also important to note that even though it is not that these nurses who are going, Ghana does not need them. Ghana needs them, but it's a way has been found to find a replacement of these nurses. I spoke about specialized nurses, and there are these institutions that could choose the specialized nurses are also turning out quite a number this year. So, let's go now.
All right.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Kweku Santokrobia, thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Dr. Kweku Santokrobia is the president of the Ghana Nurses and Midwives Association. Now, moving on to another story. A ferry loaded with 3 cargo trucks on Friday sank in the Makango River in the East Gonja district of the Savannah region. This was despite strenuous efforts by personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service to rescue it. The ferry had been sinking slowly for over an hour before the field rescue effort started. The ferry was popular on the Makango to Yeji route and was bound for Yendi in the newly created Bono region. Johnny's correspondent Isaac Nonya joins me with more on this. Thank you very much, Isaac. Now, can you tell us for certain that there were no casualties on this ferry? That's something.
Sure, there were no casualties.
All right.
And these were collaborated by the personnel for the Ghana National Fire Service. That all human beings were timely evacuated from the ferry, leaving only the 3 trucks that are still stuck now with the ferry in the water.
All right. So my understanding, and from what you're telling us, the ferry is essentially submerged in the river. Is it completely submerged, or a part of it is still up?
Not completely. It has gone down to the level of the cargo trucks. You can imagine. That is the deepness of it. As we speak now, the owners of the yam have taken a plan B, whether from the professional advice from the fire service personnel or not, where they brought in another additional trucks outside and gotten some young men to go on top of the other vehicles that are singing alongside with the ferry to offload the yam into boats that are in the water, and also for onwards unloading into the trucks that are packed by the river along the Makango River.
All right. Now, with this ferry essentially sunk, what happens to transportation?
Come again?
With this ferry now sunk in the water, what happens to transportation across the Makango River?
As we speak, passengers who were not aware of the situation have caught up with it, and then they are stranded. Those who will not hear and will come actually will join those who are already stranded, and those who also get information will not come. Transportation from now, between now and tomorrow, if things remain the same, will be halted. And passengers commuting between Salga, Yeji, Salga will not be able to move.
Is that the only ferry there?
That's the only ferry there. And this is the oldest ferry within the vicinity. And that is transporting goods and people between the 2 environments.
All right. Thank you very much, Isaac Nyonya, our correspondent in the Savannah region. Moving on, the finance minister has amended the 2020 budget to include roads in the Volta region in the list of critical infrastructure to be constructed next year. The minority accused government of discriminating against the region after the roads there were left out in the finance minister's presentation of the budget last Wednesday. Reading a brief statement on the floor of the House, the finance minister listed some roads in the Volta region he said will be worked on in 2020.
Following my presentation to this August House, the Honorable Volta Regional Minister and the Honorable Minister for Energy drew my attention to an omission of Volta Region from the list of critical roads listed in Table 21 of the budget statement. My checks confirm, Mr. Speaker, the inadvertent omission of Volta Region. All the regional ministers, Mr. Speaker, were requested to submit a list of critical roads which required immediate attention. At the instance of the Volta Regional Minister, 3 road projects in the Volta region were prioritized in the list of critical road projects for 2020. As it turned out on page 160 of the budget document, the Volta region was inadvertently left out. In the event, I'm here to amend Table 21, Mr. Speaker, to include the critical roads in the Volta region as originally agreed on. For the avoidance of doubt, Mr. Speaker, the critical roads for Volta region are as follows. Asikuma have 45 kilometers, have Ho Jasikan 83 kilometers, and Ho George Denu 99 kilometers. This will not increase the proposed 2020 appropriation because you're already included in the budget estimates for 2020.
A 9-month-old baby's life is hanging in the balance after doctors treating her at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital decided she would have to be flown to India for further treatment. Little Inshraba was diagnosed with transoceanic arteriosus, a rare heart disease that makes her breathing irregular. The treatment in India would, however, cost $10,500, which her parents say they cannot afford and are therefore appealing to the general public for help. There's more in this report.
Little Inshraba was born preterm at the Nsawam Government Hospital at 29 weeks old. Her mother, a trainee nurse, noticed her daughter's irregular breathing pattern and reported it to doctors who later referred her to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Doctors there diagnosed her with a rare heart condition, transoceanic arteriosus. It's a rare type of heart disease in which a single blood vessel comes out of the right and left ventricles instead of the normal vessels. Inshraba is unable to eat and barely sleeps. Her desperate mother has been speaking with Joy News.
But on the time I saw I'm the one 29 weeks. But only 1 month.
He was born preterm at the Nsawam Government Hospital.
But 1 month.
We later noticed she wasn't breathing properly. So doctors referred us to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Where she was diagnosed with transoceanic arteriosus. The doctors at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital say they cannot treat the condition and that it can only be done in India.
Just outside.
I'm pleading with benevolent organizations and the general public to help me save the life of my little girl.
Her mother says she is hopeful that her daughter will get better if they can be helped to undergo the surgery.
Right, so we tend to put out some of these stories of our little Inshraba so that people, those of you who are in a position to support, would reach out to the family and give them the needed support. She needs $10,500. Those who can give, however little, I'm sure the family will be grateful. Now, inadequate funds have often been blamed by many for their failure to climb the academic ladder. The story is no different for 34-year-old Jacob Semoko Mojifa, who became a Trotro driver after high school with little hope of completing higher education. Well, he's now graduated with a grade point average of 3.91 on a scale of 4.0. Student journalist Manuel Coranting has the rest of his story.
Jacob left high school with dreams of pursuing higher education, but this was not to be as the means of financing it was simply non-existent.
After SHS, there was no help, but I applied because I was one of the brilliant students at the time, and I got admission in 2005. But there was no help from anywhere, so I just have to put my sets down and think about something else. And out of a lot that I've been thinking of and doing that were not working, I realized commercial driving will fetch.
But he never gave up.
I still kept my dreams that no matter what, since I have the chance to come, I had a chance. The chance is still there for me.
He opted to venture teacher training as he was sure of earning allowances.
Finally, it fetched and I was able to gather enough and went to College of Education at Ekropong, Ekuapem.
But the dream of earning a degree was never lost. On Thursday, he was one of thousands of students who graduated from the University of Ghana. Even after graduating top of his class, Jacob says his best achievement is yet to come.
I'm aspiring to become a lecturer because I know God has given me talent and knowledge which I need to impart other people with. And so, but I owe my employers, Ghana Education Service, a lot for giving me steadily with pay, and all the 4 years I've been on salary that had given me the financial freedom to study. I thank them. And so I would want to at least serve them a bit before continuing with other degrees to enable me do what exactly I want to do in life.